Gary, I think you're on mute.
Yep.
Sorry.
Apologies about that. I'm almost convinced I did push the unmute button, but obviously I didn't. So what I was trying to say was, welcome along to our stream today. My name is Gary Ewan Park. I am a senior software engineer here at Chocolatey. And today's stream is going to be focused on Hacktoberfest. So for those of you that don't know, the month of October is all about contributing back to open source projects, and it's a online event that is run by some folks over at DigitalOcean and a few other sponsors as well. The idea is that you get or you contribute to an open source project in some way, whether that's in the form of doing some pull requests, whether that's by doing documentation updates, or getting involved in the community in some way, shape, or form that is showing demonstrably how you are contributing to an open source project. So that runs from 1st of October through the end of October. And what we decided here at Chocolatey is that we are going to kind of live stream how you can get involved with contributing to an open source project, specifically by showing how some of our folks on the team can contribute to some open source projects that we control, so i.e. the Chocolatey components. So I'm happy to say that today I've got both Cory and James, who I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. I see James has just dropped off. I'm not sure where he went. Hopefully he'll come back.
James just dropped off.
So Cory, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Okay, hi, I'm Cory Knox. I'm a junior software engineer here at Chocolatey. And yeah, that's me.
So I'll just to put in context of what or James is just coming on just now. So we'll let James come on and introduce himself, assuming that he's able to get on.
I am able to get on, but sadly, I've just had a critical camera malfunction, of course, in best of timing situations. Sorry. So I will try and sort that out in a second.
Audibly introduce yourself then, and then we can get your camera sorted out.
Of course. So I'm James Ruskin. I'm a DevOps engineer at Chocolatey Software.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I'm not sticking around. I'm going to jump ship and leave Cory and James to it. But Cory, if you want to give a quick overview of what the intention of today is, just so that folks know what's coming up, and then I'll drop off and leave you to it.
Okay, yeah. So today we're gonna I'm gonna work with James to go through and look at the issues that we have tagged for Hacktoberfest, and we're gonna pick up one that we've already decided on, which is the Choco license command, and we hope that by the end of the stream today we'll be able to add in the license command so that you'll be able to do Choco license, and it will list the details of your currently installed license for Chocolatey. So if you have a license Chocolatey, then you're able to do Choco license. It gives you the details of who it's registered to, when it expires, and if it's valid and whatnot. And then in the future, we hope to expand that command further so that you can say Choco license install and give it the path to your file, and it'll just install it for you.
Perfect. Sounds good. I see we've got James as well. We just want to say hi, James, now that folks can see you as well.
Hello, I'm not a ghost.
Okay, so I'm going to drop off now. I'm going to leave you two to it. So I hope you have fun, and I hope that whoever is following along on the stream will be able to help contribute to open source projects in the future. Right. See you later.
Have a good time. Right then.
All right, and we are still here.
Excellent. A good first step.
Yep. So, James, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen,
of course,
we can get started on. I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. So I'm assuming, am I supposed to see? There we go. I was gonna say I don't see a taskbar. So to get started, what we'll do is we'll go to the Chocolatey repository, github.com/chocolatey/choco. And then if we go into the issues here, So the issues tab along the top there. And then if you choose label in the kind of in the middle there, you can select label and select a, well, actually this one will take you here. But down and to the right a little bit.
Sure.
That one.
Sorry.
That one worked well. What we want to do is look for the label called Hacktoberfest.
Okay, so I mean,
and
yeah,
these are,
to just start us out, we're kind of looking for issues that might be suitable for picking up during Hacktoberfest, which I admit I may have missed Gary mentioning a second ago. I imagine he did.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
if you click on the label on the left there, it should take you to show you all of the issues for that label, I believe. And these are all the ones that are currently open. Other ones that you could look for is the up for grabs label, or really just look through the issues for anything that might help. So in particular, do we have it? Oh, so that create Choco license command up near the top was the one that we had said we were going to do.
Here's one we found earlier.
Yeah. Just like the cooking shows, we've prepared this. And so we've done in advance is we've gone and assigned it to ourselves because we have the ability to do that on the repository. If you don't have that ability, what you would typically do here is go in and leave a comment on the issue just to let everyone know that you're interested in taking that issue and picking it up. That allows other people to see that, oh, someone else is working on it, so that you don't end up with like 2 or 3 people trying to work on the same issue.
It might also be polite to wait for maintainers or contributors to accept your help before you start work, just so that there's no crossed wires as well. Just
yeah.
But of course, if they've got these tags, then that's generally a good.
Yeah.
Sign.
The main thing is like we don't want you to go and start work on a project and then get to the end of it and find that, or start work on fixing an issue and get to the end and find that, oh, well, you're fixing it not in the way that we wanted it fixed, or something like that. So you do that. Now what we'll want to do is now that we've registered our interest in working on this issue, if you go back to the scroll up to the top and then click code on the bar there, what we'll do is or what you would normally want to do is make sure that you forked the repository, and to do that you would just click the fork button at the top, but since you've already forked it, James, then basically you would click that and GitHub will walk you through the process of forking it. And so then what we want to do is go over to your fork, because this is where you're going to want to do your work, is from your own fork, because you're not able to contribute into the Chocolatey Choco one. And if you click that green code button, this allows you to clone down your repository, and it gives you kind of an HTTPS, an SSH, or you can use the GitHub CLI. I think we were going to use the HTTPS method here.
Yeah.
So if you just click the copy button, and now if you want to open up a terminal window, PowerShell works, and then you go to whatever directory you want to store your code in, and then do git space clone space and then paste in that HTTPS. And then once you hit enter, what this will do is Git will go and it will download a copy of the Chocolatey or the Choco repository and into a new folder called Choco. So if you want to hit enter, and then once that's downloaded, we can go into the Choco repository there, and you'll want to do if you do a git status, it'll show you that you're currently on the develop branch. And what we'll want to do is we actually want to create our own branch to work off of, so that way we're not we don't run the risk of having to try and fix so if you do git checkout -b which tells it to create a new branch, and then we'll call this one. We can just call it license dash command if we want.
Yeah. I was just wondering out to myself if we had a specific branch naming policy, but I don't think we do for within contributions.
Yeah, within contributions, we're not overly concerned with what your branch is called. But we do highly recommend that you don't work off of developer master. My personal policy is usually to use the issue number that I'm working on, dash, and then a short description of it.
Yeah.
But that actually will fail the build currently.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Maybe so. That's fixed, but it hasn't been released yet. Just because the number doesn't like the number being in there. Sure. So now we're on our new license command branch. So now we can start with our work. So the first thing we're going to want to do is build Chocolatey CLI. So if you want to just run ./build.bat, and what this will do is this will run through the cake recipe to install everything.
It's possibly worth mentioning that we do have this is a fairly fresh VM. We do have a couple of things installed here, but really and truly all that we've done to get this is we've installed Chocolatey, and then we've installed .NET 3.5, Git, Pesta, Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition, the managed desktop workload, and Firefox for the sake of a browser.
Yeah.
And that's all we did to prepare this. So
perfect.
Should have gone through that slower so that this could finish in the background.
So now while it's running, what we can do is you can actually start up Visual Studio if you'd like.
Yeah, of course.
And while that's running, if you want to, we were going to use live share. Oh, you're going to have to open the repository first, aren't you? Before you can live share.
Yes,
so
that's
choose
right.
open a project or solution, and then go find your
and of course for
Chocolatey,
Chocolatey,
and then it'll be
the
under
solution
source.
file is yeah.
And then if you want to start up the live share.
Yeah.
So
Here's
I see Stevie has joined us in chat.
Oh,
hello, Stevie. Just about to ask where you shared that. Oh, I clicked the wrong button on my side. So if you want to go back to the command prompt, just see where we're at with that. So it's still running. So what the build does is it will run through all of the tests.
So yeah, it's running through bootstrapping everything that we need to build and run Chocolatey, and then building it and then testing it, of course, because that's part of the build.
Yes. And so the main reason we run the build before we do anything inside of Visual Studio is that running that build actually sets up a couple of files that Visual Studio needs in order for Visual Studio to be able to build and run it.
Yep.
Failed to join. Oh, I know what happened.
Okay, good.
I clicked on mine. It started a live share on mine, and so it copied my link, and then I ended that. Oh. If I use the proper link,
And there we go. I'd hide your email
Perfect.
address, but it does seem quite obvious when you think about it.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got both of us in there, so we can point at
So
things.
while it's running, like while it's starting up, what we can do is we can go through the Solution Explorer a little bit. So if we expand chocolatey.console.
So that's the main interactable application that we have.
Yeah, actually, I realized chocolatey.console isn't actually the one we're going to want to use. Chocolatey.console is the interactive portion of it. So that's when you run the Choco command. But all the commands and such are registered in the Chocolatey project itself.
Okay.
So
and then
expand,
just to expand upon that a little, what's Chocolatey Resources then in that case?
So Chocolatey Resources is the resources that are included with Chocolatey. So the so there's ChimGen, some 7-zip in there, it looks like, as well as the helpers,
The license
and
oh yeah, of course, the helpers. Yeah.
So under helpers, it's all of the PowerShell scripts are in there, and so this is the resources are so that it can all be bundled together.
Makes sense. Sorry, as we know, I'm playing bad coder to Cory's good coder, so that's my excuse for asking all of these questions. So Chocolatey.
So under Chocolatey, you have infrastructure and infrastructure.app, and then I'm just double checking because I'm not 100% sure on the difference between infrastructure and infrastructure.app. But under infrastructure.app, you'll have a commands folder, and then in here is all of the Chocolatey commands. And so what we're going to do is we're probably going to look at I was going to say the version command, but version is I see. The version command was removed, so it actually just throws an exception.
We probably shouldn't just copy that one then.
Yeah. And I think Stevie is right. We set things up, and in infrastructure and under infrastructure.app is where we implement anything. So under commands, if you want to right click on on commands and choose to add new, you can do new class down near the bottom.
Yeah.
And that'll just automatically select class, so you don't have to pay it up. And then for the name, just give it Chocolatey license command with capital CL and then another C. Yeah. So then hit enter to add that, and this will just add a file that is that class. It sets up the namespace and everything for you, so you don't have to. And then the next thing we're going to want to do is the license command needs to inherit from I can't remember what it is.
So I may just open another command just to have as a reference here, so we can see what
that's kind of why
elsewhere.
I had opened the version command, but that didn't work. So
we want this to be an implementation of
an I command.
I command, yeah.
Yeah. So the I command is an interface.
And in theory, we could go and look at that, I guess, if you wanted to have a look at what that's going to be.
I think so. Yeah. So basically, we can look at it, and it'll tell us. So if you go back to the license command.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah.
I don't even have Copilot on, and it's already trying to complete things for me. Very confusing.
And so now if we, so what you want to do is click on that, and then, do the quick actions and refactorings. And then you'll, Visual Studio is telling us that we need, Stevie picked up that you missed a Y on Chocolatey. But so Visual Studio is telling us that we need to use the chocolatey.infrastructure.commands. Otherwise, we can't find what the I command is. and say yes there because we're renaming the file. So we also want to rename the class.
Very handy.
And what else is it complaining about now?
We haven't implemented things. So there are various things that will automatically try and add in all the implementations we need to do. But for now, I guess we can just take it slowly.
Well, so what I would do now is I would actually go to that quick actions and ask Visual Studio to implement all of them for us. Because what it'll do is it'll implement it just with everything throws an exception, which is an excellent first step because it actually means then that we can build the solution.
Okay.
So yeah, select that one. So now we should have no errors. We can actually go to build and choose build all.
Sure.
At the top. Or build solution. Sorry, I'm running on Visual Studio 2022, I think is why.
Sorry.
Mine's slightly different, but so that built correctly. What I would recommend now is that we want to test it. Test that it sees our command. So if you go to debug at the top,
okay,
the top menu, and then go to chocolatey.console debug properties at the bottom of that menu. And so this takes you to the debug settings for chocolatey.console. Under command line arguments is where we're going to put in what our arguments to Chocolatey would have been. So just to the right there. Yeah. If you want to just type in license.
Yeah.
So now if you click start, it'll start the debugger. So it's either start or F5. Yeah, that one there. If you hit start, this will build the project if it needs to be built, and then it'll start the debugger and it'll run it. And and now that I see that error, I know exactly what I forgot.
I'm now terrified that I've misspelled something in the British fashion. But
no. So what this means is, so we have a command, but we haven't actually registered the command with Chocolatey yet. Okay. And this was a part I wasn't 100% sure on if we would need to do. So if you actually go to Chocolatey config command, the other tab that you have open.
Yep.
And notice how right above between lines 31 and 32, it says 3 references.
Sure.
If you click on that 3 references, it'll show you everywhere in the code base that it references Chocolatey config command.
Okay.
And okay, that's not what I was thinking. Because I was thinking we need to go to. I was thinking we need container registrations, and I don't have my control P. Container registrations. I think, or it might be container binding. Yeah. Because I think we need to register our command in here, but this is the part I wasn't sure of because I thought this stuff was recently just changed.
Yeah, I guess perhaps it's again not been merged into this branch yet.
It should be in develop.
Okay, my apologies.
Should be doesn't mean it necessarily.
That's true.
Is. But what I was hoping was that references for the API command, or just any of them. I'm not. Find all references. Because basically what that error message tells us is that it doesn't, like when searching for,
it doesn't know about. I was going to say, do we need a decoration?
We need a decorator. It's not that we need to register it. We need. So if we look at one of the other commands, such as which one did you have open? So if you look at the config command, see line 31 there. That's the part we're missing. So we need to decorate the license command
Okay.
with an attribute that's command 4. So
Gotcha.
you can
It
either
should.
copy that or apparently you did. And then give it whatever details you want there for now, but obviously it'll need to, so now if we hit F5, I'm looking at my screen and okay, so now we've got an error.
So this is actually related to something I was about to ask, which was simply that we're not currently following the same structure.
Yeah.
Which admittedly is something that is opinionated, but is that something we should be worrying about? Should we be popping everything into the namespace?
I would. So
in fact, I can see why that's a problem because I put it at the wrong place.
Yeah, so that one's a problem because you put it at the wrong place. But as far as putting the usings inside the namespace, we will need to do that.
Okay.
We can either do it now or later. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But while we're doing it, we might as well. Then we might as well go and copy the copyright header as well.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And we'll copy that in because and then now why is it complaining? For the same reason. So you'll need to, there's a using that we're missing, and Visual Studio is really good about figuring out which ones you're missing. So now
we're down to 0 errors, but a few warnings.
Just a few.
Just minor amount.
Yeah. Then so now if we hit start, okay, now it'll actually run and
that's what we expected.
Yes.
It
gave us an error, but it's the error we expected. It's a not implemented exception.
Brilliant.
So
which of course is the thing that Visual Studio has put into all of our functionality.
Exactly. So now we've thrown so everything throws an exception. Now we need to actually implement our iCommand object.
Okay.
And for that, I usually go and look at another one for how they do it. But one we can first start with is may require admin access. We can just change that. So it's like, right there. So we can change that to return true or return false.
I was going to say, because at the moment we're only planning on doing a read action. So that's going to be okay regardless. We're not implementing all of the asks in that issue yet. We're just going to start out at least by saying that this won't need it because we don't need to write to the folder.
Yes, and what we can do when we get to that point in the future is that may require admin access. We can set up some smarts to it, so we can look at like what command or what subcommand of are you trying? Are you looking at list? Okay, you don't need admin. Are you using install? Okay, you do need admin because in order to install it, you have to be able to write to it.
Okay.
But that'll be when we get there. No, we won't be able. We might not be able to.
Okay. I was going to say because there's no way to pass in things like arguments, but I assume that there might be a way to do that. Okay. So one thing down.
Yeah, one thing down.
Ago.
So like if you had changed that to actually, I was gonna say if you change that to return true and we ran it again, it might prompt us.
That's fair because we could try. I don't think we're elevated currently. May as well. We're not.
Oh, actually, we are.
Are we?
Ooh, so that won't prompt. My apologies. I was gonna say it might prompt because, but it depends on which function or which method first. Which order, and I can't remember the order of them.
Okay.
So we'll leave the help message for now, but what we are going to need to do is we're going to need to configure an argument parser. And if we want to go to the config command one,
we can have a look at what that's doing.
We can have a look at what that's doing. And that way, And in actuality, I think we can actually probably just leave that as an empty method. Just looking at what the config one does. We're not doing anything with that right now. So we're not adding any options.
Okay.
So in our license command, we will just take out the throw exception on line 33 there. And just leave it blank.
Okay.
And then
would it be sorry.
Nope.
I was going to ask, is it good practice to leave it like that? Would we want to do something like just a straight return to indicate that we know we're doing nothing? Or is there just leave a comment that says?
It's a good question. It probably wouldn't, it probably wouldn't hurt to include a comment or a return just to acknowledge, like, as you say, acknowledge that we're not doing anything with it. In future iterations, we're definitely going to do something with it, but
sure,
for right now, and the same with handle additional argument parsing. Right now, all we're interested in is did they run the license command. So we're just gonna we're not gonna handle them. They can pass whatever they want in. We're not going to do anything with it.
Right.
And then under handle validation, so there's the handle validation would be that you're handling that they're passing in like valid subcommands, and or if you're running like a push, that the file that they're pushing is a valid file, sort of thing.
Sure. So in the instance where we had a Choco license install, we could validate that there was a file at the path, or that you'd also
a file at
the path, that sort of thing.
and that like we would say, oh, did they ask for install? Okay, now what did they ask for, and did they ask for lists? So for handle validation, we can do nothing on that one, or we'll do nothing on that one as well right now. Just return. And then I'm just looking at.
I apologize if my clicky keyboard is too clicky, by the by.
I can't hear. I'm not hearing it. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy just a couple of things over here. I'm going to copy from the config command over to our license command under for the help message. I'm just going to grab a couple of things just so that we have it in here. And we'll just put in that it's a license command. And we'll do license things.
Yep.
And so I'm not seeing that squiggly on line 51, but if you want to.
Chocolatey loggers doesn't actually, so I think this means that we're going to need to implement and pass in some sort of iLogger, I guess, but
no, it should have.
Oh no, sorry. Is that an enum somewhere?
Did it not? Does it not add using Chocolatey infrastructure or chocolatey.infrastructure.logging? Yeah,
it does now.
I told it to do that on mine, but it seems like it didn't take it.
Fair enough.
So
my apologies.
Because it's definitely your fault.
Yes.
For no-op, again, I'm just gonna return on that one.
Okay.
And then what we're actually gonna do is in the run is where we're gonna do our thing. And this is where I prove that I have no idea what I'm talking about, because now I'm just realizing that we need to get the license. And so my question is, where is I am just okay here. So under the run, let's do actually, so if you go to line 70. And your camera went away again.
It did. I just noticed that.
So if you're on line 70, do this.log.
Okay.
And then open parentheses, close parentheses.
Okay.
And then dot info. Open parentheses, and then in double quotes, we're just going to put Chocolatey license command. And now if we hit start, we should get it run through. It'll say Chocolatey license command, and then it will exits with 0 and wait for us.
So there we go.
So now the next now that we have a Chocolatey license command, we actually want to do our what we've said the command was there to do, which means that for the license command, we want to validate the license that is being used. So if you hit enter there, now you have a license that you created for this, right? So can you copy that to if you go to where your repository is, so under Choco source Chocolatey, I think, or it might have been can you actually can you choose to run the to execute the script, or not the script, the debug in Visual Studio again?
Yeah.
Because it tells us right at the top there. So we're going to go to, you see at the top of that terminal window where it says ends in choco.exe.
Oh, I see. Sorry. So yeah, it's bin debug choco.exe. So actually, it's the lib folder that doesn't exist, but that rest of that directory.
The rest of that directory. So if you copy that and open it in not Visual Studio, in Windows Explorer. So this is where it's running from when we debug. Okay. So if you want to create a new folder called license, and then into there is where we're going to copy the chocolatey.license.xml file.
Yeah. And it's going to be that. Pop it there. That looks okay.
Yep. So now, and in fact, now if we just run the command again, one of the things that we should see is that at the top, it says, hey, we found the license, but we don't have the licensed, we don't have the license extension installed, which is just fine for our use case right now.
Okay.
So now if you want to hit enter.
Okay. Just to check, just because obviously I'm a lazy chap who will occasionally do stuff in VS Code and other text editors. With the build being a script and with everything else being in place, is there any reason you couldn't do a build and then come in here and run your test commands against the Choco.exe that's been built? Other than not being able to drop into debug, for example. So if you wanted to do this with something more lightweight, you could.
Yeah. So once you do a build, you can run the choco.exe. If you do a debug build,
if we dropped into here and we said Choco license, we'd get a similar thing going on, but without the debug steps, it wouldn't.
Well, in this case, you can't find a command registered that meets license because we didn't, because you need to specify, or because of the PowerShell search path, it doesn't look to your local directory.
Of course. So we'll be.
So if you do /choco in that, while you're in that folder, then it will use that. And because it was built with, and because we're in the debug, it's a debug build. Therefore, you have to hit enter at the end of it.
Gotcha.
And I believe that's partly done so that when you're debugging, the window doesn't just disappear on you, because that's always fun when you're debugging and then suddenly your window disappears and your debugger stops. So now we have the output of a debug command. And so if we go to line 70 and create a new line, what we're going to want to do is find the license file. And so Chocolatey has it's application parameters, I believe.
Okay.
And then inside of application parameters, there is there's a license file location. So what we're going to want to do is I'm going to say var my license equals, and I see what you do. So what I'll do is I'll copy, I'll move that up to there.
So to talk through what I was up to there, obviously this is going to be a little bit more interesting if you're kind of jumping into C# and the deep end, but if you're trying to contribute to something like this, then you might want to drop it. You get all the basic steps, and then you can kind of plan out what you want to do. Be that in comments,
definitely. If we add the comments of what we want to do, get the path to the potential license, get the license content, output something, and there's more to it that we'll fill in along the way. So right now, what can you on line 72, or can I? Apparently I can. So I've created a breakpoint on this line. So now what happens if you hit start, it'll run through, it'll say Chocolatey license command, and then it will drop into the debugger. So it'll bring you back into Visual Studio.
Perfect.
But before we go any further in Visual Studio, can you go back to the Chocolatey window that opened? So we still have the window open. We see that we've outputted our license command. And now in the debugger, if we step a single line, so if you go back to the debugger, and you click the little over arrow.
So there's again, I'm not quite sure who we're targeting here, but step over. Okay.
It technically step over and step into in this case should work the same, but what that did was that executed our command there on line 72. And now if you look down at the bottom there under locals, you can see we have this my license, and it tells you where that application parameters dot license file location is. So now you can either hit continue to continue on, and then we'll close the window.
Okay.
So this is just the discovery of, well, where is our license file stored, which is kind of, as you said, the first instance of that. So my license might not be a very good name. We'll probably give it something different down the road, but right now I think it's okay. Now what we can do is, you just think about this for a second. I think what we're going to want to do is have a file system service. So that because we want to get the license content, if we go up to the top of the file, or near the top of the file, we don't currently have a constructor.
That's true.
So what we'll do is we'll put in a constructor. So new line, and then do Chocolatey license command, and this is going to take in a file system service, I believe is.
I'm not seeing one, but that doesn't mean
that. So if you want to, so now just hit space and call file system service.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to go for that one.
And then new, and then if you go to iFile system service,
and do the same delightful usage. Not sure about that one.
Okay, I could be wrong about what it's called.
So sorry.
No, you were going to ask a question.
is there a reason we wouldn't just use? Is there a reason we're passing in a file system service rather than using things directly?
So, and it's actually not a file system service. It's just a file system.
Okay,
I was wrong about the service part. Sorry, iFile system.
Yes. So we're using an interface. Why would we use that instead of just using path test?
Yeah.
Some kind of test path, or
so
why would you do that?
Why we're using it here, I believe, is because inside of Chocolatey, we have there's an iFile system or a file system interface that implement, because of the age and the .NET versions that were available at the time. There weren't. I don't believe it was consistent with what was available in the file system service, and there sometimes there are code paths that drop into a third-party library, although I think mostly they don't do that anymore. So in this case
Stevie
here,
says we old.
potentially. There are also scenarios where things you might want to implement things slightly differently in different scenarios. So the interface allows you to have the different implementations of a file system.
Sure. So yeah, if you were trying to access a local file versus something in an S3 bucket or something similar to that, obviously that's not entirely relevant to Chocolatey. But if you were writing something else, or if you were modifying something for something else, then you might end up doing something like that. And implementing an extension of an interface similar to what we have with this I command to extend that into something else. And you could then pass in the interface, your implementation of choice to use.
Yeah. And as Stevie mentioned in chat, a good example is our own format with method. You can do it natively today in C#, but it wasn't available back in the day, and it has gone through iterations. And so one thing I've just done, I'm just adding a backing property.
Yep.
Because now what we're going to do is we're going to assign that file system. Oh,
my fault.
Oops.
So this constructor will be called whenever we pass this with this constructor will be called whenever we pass in a file system and nothing else.
Well, so it'll be called automatically whenever we generate or whenever we. No, it'll be called actually every time the Chocolatey itself is started. We're
knocking out the default constructors by adding this one.
Yeah, so the default constructor will still be there. But what happens is the container registration that I mentioned, or that we first started looking at when we didn't have the command registered. What we used to have to do was manually register every single command into the container registration system. Sure. And now it just does that automatically for us. And so we tell it kind of what interfaces that we want in there, and then the registration or the simple injector just automatically inserts it all for us, so we don't have to worry about finding or instantiating the file system service itself. It also allows us to be the interface is really what allows us to be to make it more testable.
Yep.
Because we're passing in an iFile system and not just a concrete file system. By using the interface, our tests can create their own mock versions of that interface that don't actually interact with the file system,
or pass back files that don't exist but we'd like to pretend to.
Yeah,
for the sake of
we
saying,
tell it that they exist.
Yeah,
yeah, because our tests really, the unit tests, we don't want them to touch the file system, but we want them to act like they've touched the file system. Kind of like in if you've ever used Pester in PowerShell, and you say you want to test creating that Active Directory user, but you don't actually want to create that Active Directory user.
Yeah, you might mock out new AD user and Call it good.
So, so what this will do, so now that we have that file system object,
yep,
down at line 81, way down there, so we go to line 81 and do underscore file system, and then this is the file exist, I think it is.
That sounds very reasonable. Although I've just skimmed. Well, no, it's gonna.
You can also just type file. Yeah. So file exists, open parentheses, and then my license, close parentheses. And actually, you were correct in that we wanted inside of an if statement.
Very good.
But what I would actually do here, maybe, is do if not file system dot file exists.
Okay.
So on line 81, just put an exclamation mark just inside the parentheses.
Okay.
And then inside of on line 83, just say throw new exception. We're just going to give it a generic exception for now. And just put in double quotes, no file exists. Yeah, or
something professional like that. We've mentioned professional.
And so what we're also going to want to do is put a new line before and after the if statement. This is a formatting,
of course,
convention that we use. It allows you to like delineate where the if statements are versus like, so they don't just kind of blend in with the code around them.
Okay. And do we have, as Chocolatey, if folk were trying to contribute to our stuff, do we have any resources on style guides, or do you have a suggested style guide, or is this just the C# best practices and we're just recommending using that? Do we have style cop templates?
Most definitely, maybe.
Files. Most definitely, maybe. Okay, I'll take that.
There is some not just
Gary
configurations. Not just Gary. There are some configurations in the repository for things like ReSharper, and we're adding in more as we go. And the idea will be to get curious stuff. But the idea will be to have style cop or something like it to so that it's not just a human.
It doesn't have to come down to code reviews and PRs and people saying, well, could you actually do it this way? Because I prefer it, but I haven't told anyone.
Yeah,
instead,
exactly.
You've got that solid resource.
Yeah, and it'll help you as a contributor to like either it does it automatically for you, or it prompts you before you create your pull request, so that you don't have to do it after the fact. So
another
now,
thing, of course, is pre-commit run hooks, but that's a whole different subject that I'm sure we can get into later.
Yeah. So now, if you want to go to where your license file is for a moment.
Sure. This is where I start worrying about leaking the license file everywhere. It's not going to happen. Well, except if we have it in our debug session.
Well, there was a reason we picked that license file, though, right?
That is
so if
true.
You just rename that license file to anything, maybe just start it with like an A or something. Oh,
yeah, I should probably actually leave it so I can
that's what I was thinking, was that to make it easy to switch back and forth. So now if we come back to our Visual Studio and tell it to run, what I fully expect is that we should end up with an exception that says no file exists.
Sure. And if we were writing tests to go with that, we might lead with writing a test to say, this method here, file exists, my license should return true or false, and we can see that the throw happens.
And
gosh, I haven't done something.
Wait, what did that exception say?
So it was saying that we have implemented 0. So I haven't told it that this should return. So that we've got. No, that's not right. Sorry. We want it of type Chocolatey license command, and that's not valid.
No, you just need the word public in front of it, I think.
Okay. There's me worrying.
I hope
I'm doing something else. I mean, that's a lovely
Chocolatey config command only has the word public in front of it. So what is it now? What is it complaining about? I hit the stop arrow. because that's probably what it's complaining about. Because that's
That makes
purple
sense.
underline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There we
no
go.
file exists. That is the error message we had. Perfect.
Perfect.
Testing as we go.
And so what I'm going to do
In
is
fact, I'm
I'm
going
going
to update that to be more specific.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oops. That's not. Oops. String license file, no. I'm just trying to find where. Can you run that again?
Of course.
There was an output at the top. I wanted to find where it is in the build or in the code.
Okay.
Rename
fun. Yeah,
license file
directory.
to allow commercial features. So now click hit enter or space or to allow commercial features might be what I want to search for. Unless there it is. No, that's in chocolatey.log. Why?
So while you're doing that, I'll just mention that though we are implementing a feature that is obviously targeted towards interacting with a license that may not be a part of Chocolatey CLI without you having a business license or the extension, this is obviously just an example of something that you can do when you're trying to implement random features or issues from the Chocolatey repositories.
Yes, exactly. This one, as you say, although it is targeted at licensed, the main reason or one of the reasons that we're wanting to add it into open source is to get that install subcommand that we're going to put in afterwards.
Yeah.
Because then it just allows you to more easily install it. Why is it not finding? Am I searching entire solution? Allow license. Oh, allow commercial features. Fine. I'm going to copy it right out of the out of the log file. There we go. It's in license validation that. So what I was wanting to, so I'm coming over to license validation because I want to see.
Do you hang on? Are you browsing this in here? Can I follow you? Or
I think you can. I don't know how you follow me.
There you go. Done.
Yeah. So I just I just searched because well, so basically what I wanted to do was okay. So that message actually is saying, hey, like we found some files in the directory, but no valid license file was there. Because we renamed it is why. Because I'd actually never seen this message before, or don't recall seeing it before. It's entirely possible that it came up all the time. So no I files.
I guess I am actually a little surprised. We do seem there. Yes, that is a sensible error message because I have heard that we get a fair few people who drop text files where they should be XML or so on and so on. Mm-hmm. So it's a good message to have. Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but it's
So what we do is what file am I or no okay. So license validation, validate. Why do I not have folding? I just want to see. I think license validation is only giving. So license validation. I don't have that third drop down. So the top of your window there, where you've got the drop downs, when the third one says public key, you click on public key.
I can.
Sorry, I meant to like click on it to bring up the drop down. I just wanted to see.
Apologies.
So we've got validate and determine if regular output for login. So we only have the validate. And it returns it. Perfect. So I think if we go back to our license command,
Righto.
we actually don't need to. So the this part that we did that said get the path to the potential license, I think what we can actually do, I'm going to comment it out for now, just so we're not actually just straight up removing code. I think we can do license validation.
Okay. So we're just going to say straight up, is there a license? And then we've got a method for that already.
Validate.
Okay. And that'll throw an error, as we just saw.
Our license equals.
Very handy.
So license validation, it's not going to like that because of the using the, we have to use the right namespace. Otherwise we could just do it by putting in like chocolatey dot whatever it was, infrastructure dot licensing.
So yeah, and we can see here that presumably we've got pretty much the same, slightly different, but pretty much the same.
So it's not, or it's using the file dot exists because for the same reason, or because it doesn't have the file system or iFile system available to it, as the comments in it said. So now if we run it again,
okay, and of course we could clean up the stuff that we already had. Oh no, sorry, we are still using everything. I take it all back.
Yeah,
of course,
we are still using. Yeah. Well, so Visual Studio will, and we can go through that and take out the ones that we're not using, because like we're not using the link extensions right now.
Okay.
And so if you want to step over,
okay,
which is
this is where I get antsy about whether we're about to expose the license on the screen, but at the very least it'll just be the first couple of characters, I'm sure. Step over.
Oh, maybe.
So I don't know now, what our license is going to look like.
Yeah, what is our license? So now if you expand our license.
Perfect.
And scroll up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
I haven't seen this object before, so I was antsy.
So what this has done is this has gone and validated that we don't have a license.
Very good.
And that's why the license type is FOSS. Is valid is set to false.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Right. So there's no name, there's no version, there's no ID, no expiration date. I believe so the ID is just going to be a GUID. I think.
I'm intrigued. But it does look like we're not going to expose anything by inspecting this object when we replace the license with the real version. So
yeah, so when we replace the real license, the most that you'll get from it is the ID. Okay. But actually, invalid reason. So if you want to rename the file,
yep. Shall I continue out of this so we just drop out?
Yes, continue and actually, yeah. Let's see the. Oh, I was going to say, let's see the message, but the output message was the same. Hey, we found files over here. And so now if we go to the license, while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up a file.
Okay.
No, not that one. How do you, I have a license file for you as well.
Thank you.
If I remember where I put it.
Okay.
It's an expired one.
Okay. So we'll be able to try that out.
That's because what I want to see is what that invalid one looks like.
Gotcha. yeah, we can see on the screen that with a license in place, we actually didn't need to implement anything to do any XML reading or any fun that I thought I'd have to have. So, very disappointing. I was all ready. Although saying that, I know that I much prefer PowerShell for the joys of
definitely
parsing XML trivially.
I'm split on yes, actually PowerShell is really handy for parsing XML because you don't have to create an object or anything. Like PowerShell just kind of does it for you. That's not
the messy and wonderful world of casting in PowerShell is a lovely thing.
Where
brief shout out to Chris, our latest Chocolatey member, who's in chat possibly and learning PowerShell recently. Oh, sorry, going through 30 days, which is super awesome.
I don't know where my expired one went. Well, I know where one is, but it's not where it was supposed to be.
Dare I say it's in Test Kitchen? Oh, Ryan, why?
It is in Test Kitchen. It's just a matter of I can't see my Test Kitchen. Oh, thank you, Mac OS, because I really wanted to scroll to the right to find 6 more icons over there. Oh.
Hidden.
Actually, that's not where it is. Anyways, we can come back to that. Yeah, we can come back to that now that I'm realizing that's not gonna. So this gives us, it gives us kind of all the details of what we wanted. So what we can try so if you want to hit either continue or just stop.
Yep.
Continue you'll have to hit enter. Stop just stops it. Do on line 89 do console or not console this.log.info. Sorry. I was gonna say console.writeline, but and actually no $.
Ooh, okay. Oh, I was gonna say we could try doing this, but
I'm gonna suggest you don't do that for the reason of if I recall, that's a newer C# feature.
Oh, that would be where format with that Stevie mentioned would come in. Goodness me.
Yeah. We'll just say that and then .format with and say our license.
So yeah, it's again, as Stevie said, it's worth mentioning that because Chocolatey supports such a wide range of stuff, it's got some quite old school stuff in.
Some of them are like this is an extension that's added to the string type that allows you to do it on absolutely any string. So in the format with, we're going to put our license. And then I think I was just going to say,
I suspect that's going to be a Boolean, so we might want to.
I was just going to say use our license.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And see if there's if our license has a 2-string, which it might not. So it might just tell us that it's a license.
Well, we can help.
But we'll find out when we run.
It does look like it's got something, but yeah, if that's got an overridden thing that actually.
Well, that's the thing is the 2-string will just be. There's a 2-string automatically, but it might not actually contain anything, or it might contain not enough. But so this will tell us kind of what what that gives us.
Okay, yeah, this is expected because we haven't
that's expected because we haven't installed the extension, and then it's just said, hey, we found and here's
an object.
the name of the object. Yeah, so which is fine. What we can do is if we close that now, our license dot and then what is the license type?
I suppose we could have license type. So we could have we have a I definitely thought there was one. There we go, license type. So we're going to say we found an X license.
Actually, so if you said we have found a license, and then just say for license type, or yeah, so a 0 license for license type.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Is there a license for license type 1?
Yeah, and then change
I'll
that
take
to
out
2.
my silliness.
Well, yeah,
okay.
Which expires
I'm
2. So now in here, what we can do is the first one on the format with.
Yep.
Change. So, or we're going to leave the license type because we're going to want that, but we want our license dot is valid. And
Now,
then trying to think of the best way to do.
so
maybe wrap this whole all in parentheses. So at the begin, the first our license. Here, actually, so I'm going to put parentheses there, and a parentheses after is valid, or close parentheses, and now inside that do a space question mark.
So we're doing a ternary operation, as it were.
Yeah, we're doing a ternary operation now. Double quotes valid.
Yep.
And then colon invalid. Yeah. Our license dot license type, and then comma, and then our license dot expiration date. And that the 2 string on the expiration date should give us something nice.
Something.
Or well, yes, it'll give us something. So now if we want to hit debug again.
Okay.
And we'll see what kind of output that gives us.
Okay, so that's...
So we found a valid license for business trial, which expires
tomorrow
at midnight.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Today-ish.
Today-ish. Awesome. So now if you want to hit enter. So that's giving us kind of that it's valid. What other types of information do we want? So we can do like on a new line, or I guess one of the things we want to figure out is what the format.
We'll get to the formatting, Stevie.
Well, this is what I'm wondering. So we can actually do we found a license.
So there's a question I just thought of. So sorry, I'm very familiar with, I guess, one of the arguments we might want to handle, and I suspect there isn't an additional method for, is
make a change.
Okay. I'll not look.
But you can keep talking.
And I'll see if I can figure out what it is. Okay. No, sorry. I was just thinking one argument that I personally lean on heavily is the minimal output command.
Yes. So this is what I was just thinking of, is like there's just 2 things that we need to think about, is what do we want to output normally and what do we want to output when they've requested minimal output. So if you want to hit execute or F5 or start, we're just going to start debugging. I want to see if my change did what I think it should have done.
Okay.
We have found a valid license for business. So it's
business. Sorry, Stevie.
So that should solve Stevie's at a/an license type.
I should note that according to my contract, I'm an DevOps engineer. I enjoy
nice.
that.
So I hit enter or space or whatever. Can you go to where the license is?
Nice. Yeah, I see what you did.
Yeah, the license file itself. It looks silly there. So we'll either want to go to where the license file is.
Yep.
Now. And
wow, I've closed that.
You closed it.
That's my fault entirely. Let's just pop back there, shall we? I'm going to have to drop in. Is it in code drop?
No, it's source. Code drop is apologies. Where the build, like when you run the build.bat script, it drops stuff in there.
Right. This was the wrong folder as well.
Yeah, it's not Chocolatey, it's chocolatey.console.
Thank you.
And then debug, and then in license. So create a copy of this.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why is that now open and edit the first or the regular one, the non-copy.
When you say open and edit, can I do this off screen?
I think so.
What am I doing?
I think you'll have to stop. Basically, I wanted to change the XML
to be invalid.
To be invalid. Actually, create the copy, and we can actually do it in PowerShell.
Oh, I've got it open on my primary machine. I can pop it on just very easily.
Okay, yeah. If you want to do that, just
how invalid do you want it?
You could put a space in. Actually, maybe not put a space in. There should be a signature in there. Change one of the characters in the signature. If I'm remembering correctly, that like there's a block of text that looks very much like not, if you know what I mean.
I do know the one you mean. So, okay, so we've got this delightfully invalid license that I'm just having a look through. Give me 1 second more.
Okay.
Sorry. Having all the fun here.
What I want to do is
there we go.
Oh, are you just changing the GUID?
I'm nuking this thing. I'm sorry. I'll leak it in a second. I want that to be unintentional. Wow, I really should have made a copy of that before I modified it.
You have it on your desktop still.
Yes. Oh, no, sorry, but I've just modified that one, so I'll have to go find it.
Yeah.
It's all good. So we're going to modify this one to not be called Chocolatey license, underscore it again. And then we're going to have this one, which, with luck, is completely invalid. As you can see, it's much smaller than the other one. So
perfect. So now if we go back and run, what I'm wanting to see is if it'll say it's an invalid one. Oh, yeah. Okay, so hit enter to continue, and put a breakpoint. Actually, I can put a breakpoint on line 89.
Yeah.
Maybe. There we go. And run it again. And what I want to do is stop at that breakpoint, because what I want to see is in our license. Under in the locals at the bottom there, if we expand, so invalid license, or it gives us an invalid reason.
Yep.
Pardon me, just
not a problem.
It's got a cough apparently.
Sorry.
So it gives us our invalid reason of could not validate existing license. I'd have to look through the Rhino licensing to know what it is, but if we go back to the Chocolatey executable window, just wanted to confirm that it's saying an invalid. Oh, we'll need to actually step over to see an invalid.
I was actually going to say, so is this I haven't looked into it, but is this isn't throwing anything? This is just where we're continuing through. There's nothing.
We're continuing through. Yeah.
No point in wrapping in a try catch and handling it separatly.
No,
it's just
license validation does not output, or doesn't throw errors. The Rhino licensing library itself would do some throwing, but the license validation catches them and interprets them.
Okay.
So now if we hit continue, so we did get the correct an or our an for Stevie there. And so if you hit enter, or you'll have to continue and then hit enter, because it's in the debugger still. And then hit enter. So now what I think, so we've verified that if it's an invalid license, it'll tell us, hey, it's an invalid license.
Sure.
We'll
Wait, how did Stevie get in here?
I put those in.
Yeah,
actually. Okay, now can you delete that invalid file or rename the invalid file?
Yeah, of course.
But we're not going to put back the valid file just yet.
Okay.
So maybe, yeah. And run it again. I want to see what the object gives us this time.
Okay.
For invalid reason, because I suspect the invalid reason will say, hopefully says that no file exists.
Sadly, no such luck.
Oh, but license type is FOSS. So actually now if we go to, if you just hit continue, it should say an invalid license for Chocolatey FOSS.
Yeah. Although an invalid license for FOSS. Interesting.
Yeah. But so what, so that does give us some context that we'll be able to work from. So hit enter there, because what we'll be able to do is detect that license type. And if it's FOSS, just say, instead of outputting a whole bunch of details, just say there's no license.
That's fair.
And so now if we go to, so what we want to do is we'll leave line 89 as it is for now, but then on, trying to think, do we want to, well, yeah, line 90 or put a new line after 89.
Sure.
And in here we'll do if config or sorry, configuration, I think it is. Oh no, it's config. It came in as config. Sorry. Some places we bring it in as configuration. Dot, is it regular output?
Yep.
Yeah. That's not a method though. Regular output, I think, is a Boolean.
Yeah, it looks to be good.
Yeah. Okay, so now inside of here, technically that's where we'll want to put we have found part.
Okay, so what we're saying is if anyone else was implementing a command, you don't need to worry about handling the limited output stuff because that's a shared parameter.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so you don't need to worry about adding that as an argument to handle if someone's going to pass in -r. Our configuration object will just tell you that they passed a -r because there's a set of standard options and -r is one of them.
And regular output, to be
regular
clear,
output
is the inverse. It is.
Yeah, so if they pass -r, regular input is set to false.
Okay.
Or should be set to false. So like line 89, we could actually move into that if block.
89.
Yeah. And now, although,
I mean, maybe we'd want to, well, yeah, sorry, we can come back to that.
Yeah. So now
then we want to do the inverse.
Well, we will want to, for now, I'm thinking, let's just do, well,
okay.
Yeah, let's do the regular, but let's set this here. I want to look at, try something on my end, see if I have it. No, okay. I don't. Can we go back to the debug properties?
Debug properties.
So yes, debug menu, and then debug menu, and then at the very bottom, and license space -r. And then you can just hit
it's or an output as a full.
Yeah, I always just do -r, but
I'm a monster. Yes. I'll even do -- confirm. Oh. Keyboard. I'm losing keystrokes source on my life. -- source.
And then so now if we want to hit start, what we'll do is we'll just confirm that we step over this if block and that there's I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'm okay with it, I guess. Yeah. So we see that it's set to false. So now if we step either step over or step into, it doesn't matter. As long as we step, we just carry on right past it. And so now if we go to continue, we don't have our output. We do have, unfortunately, we have a double. Oh. Interesting. So those errors about there being files in there, those are, yeah. Those happen even with, so that actually might be something. Well,
no, I think, sorry, I if you're saying that it's not identified that we have a valid license file that is incorrectly named, and the phrasing doesn't reflect that, that's fair.
Well, yeah. So, but the fact that we have the red and the purple text, but we don't have the, hey, you don't have the extension installed part.
Yeah.
I think that output that we're currently getting also shouldn't be here.
Interesting.
So I'll raise that up, either as an issue and then possibly with Gary, and we can go from there. Anyways,
that might be an excellent thing to tack on to the end of this after the PR stuff. But
yeah, so if we want to hit, okay. I'm just looking at the time, and
yep,
I've got most.
I mean, we're going to ship this at the end of the call, right? That's how this works.
So now in line 92, down to 93, what we're going to do is this.log .info, and then open parentheses, and then we're going to do expiration space date colon space curly bracket 0 close curly bracket, and then format with and then that will just be our license dot expiration date.
Very good.
There's probably a way that we can format it in the current time zone, but we'll tackle that later. And then this.log.info. So I don't know if you just want to copy line 93.
Sorted.
But we're just going to do this.log node count.
And then Stevie's actually pasted in a little bit of
pasted in a regex.
But we don't want that many problems, do we? I mean, that's it. No, it should be fine.
We don't want regrets.
I mean,
I just put a string. Just put a string in here and say we got to calculate it with regex probably.
I mean, I'm happy to try and
calculate it in a consistent manner. I'm not questioning your regex, Stevie. I'm questioning my ability to remember how to call the regex and get the details out that we want in the time allotted right now. Okay. Oh, Stevie. So just put in double quotes.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Double quotes count will go here. And then what I want to do is good. I'm going to go find the issue.
Yeah, was there anything else that was requested? Even though we're not implementing everything, was there anything else for this?
Well, like because I missed adding a label on one. Feature list. No. How is I not? No license. Oh my goodness, GitHub.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, Stevie, if Cory's looking distracted for a couple of moments, I could probably do it now.
Worked before I posted it. Yeah. There it is. Okay, so the registered name, so the name of the what I'm thinking is we're going to put a new line here, and we're going to do this.log .info registered user is probably the wrong term, but we can do format with our license. If I can spell license properly. No. What's Stevie saying now? Email in name of license.
We shouldn't let these guys on these calls. It's not
it's not good.
I was going to say, it's checking into the issues.
Actually, instead of registered license, I'm going to say registered to, or expiration date, license type, license count, total not usage, anything else that might be useful. So pretty much license type. Oh my God, are you really?
No.
I mean, sure, why not?
Did you see the horrendous amount of stuff I did to make a beautiful table and some release notes a while ago? That was a good time. You should put that in a public repository.
Oh God. Expiration date, license type. Oh. Wrong buttons. Oops. There we go. Oh, it didn't. Format with.
We can email you a tiny sticker of Cory's head if you'd like, Chris. Got one of Stevie's head as well if you want to.
Yeah. Our license dot. What type?
Okay. Yeah, nice.
So now if we execute that.
Ooh.
I probably missed a semicolon or
yeah, maybe here. No.
there
are some. Oh, I tell you what, we are not outside of our brackets. Yeah. There we go.
There we go. There's nothing.
Ooh. I haven't seen the stickers.
Okay, so now okay. So here's a fun thing that we're gonna do. If you mouse over regular output, you'll see that regular output is set to false.
Yep.
Go to the immediate window in the bottom right, because we passed in -- limit - output.
Oh, I see.
So if you go immediate window, now do config.regular output.
I see where this is going. Oh, I didn't know this was a thing.
Not release, regular output.
My apologies.
Space equals space true. And then I think you need a semicolon. So now if you mouse over regular output, it's now true. And so now if we we'll actually step into our code here.
Okay.
Step into or step over, it'll still step into our code. Wait, what?
That's fine, I think.
Oh, yes.
I think no is,
I would say no.
Right.
I say no on that one because yeah. So now if we step again, so we've proven that we've gone in. We might as well just hit continue. I'm going to hit continue for you.
Oh. Well, clearly I'm not using a fixed width font or something somewhere.
Well, that's interesting. So registered to.
Well, hang on. There is a reason for. I guess if it fails to pass, then it doesn't bother to do anything else. We're still on an invalid license.
Yeah, we're still. No, we're actually on no license.
Even better. Definitely nobody to be registered to.
Okay, so now hit enter. Go back and set the proper license file.
Righto. Let's do that. Yes, this one here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Okay, looking good. Step in twice.
Oh, did you go and change the regular output?
No. So we'll need to do that again here.
Mouse over regular output for a second.
Oh, that would be interesting if it's okay, yeah.
Huh. That's actually really interesting. Step or we'll just continue actually.
Okay. That's looking good.
And yeah, so that's there. So now if you want to hit enter to continue or what have you. So now we've handled regular output. We want to handle if they're asking for non-regular. So we'll do else in here.
Yep.
So one of the things that we'll also need to decide here is the formatting of it. But I imagine we could just do yeah. Is it CSV compatible?
No, probably not, is it?
Character separated values, yeah.
Yeah. we don't really need a comment, I'm sure. This is perfectly clear. We don't want to muddy up the waters by commenting too much.
That doesn't have any slush left in it.
We've got a slushy.
Well, I don't want to advertise for a Canadian.
It's not a margarita, is it? That would be.
No, it's it was a coffee-ish drink.
Sorry, it's much later here,
stuff.
so that joke came off better at my end of the time zone.
So this .log .info. What we want is basically we separate with these things. What happened? Why did it?
It's autocomplete gone wild. That is quite a.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's okay. So open parentheses or not open parentheses, open square bracket, curly braces, bracky boys.
Yep. Those lads.
Ones that go like this. The ones that
okay, we're definitely going to have this as our next whiteboard project. What do you call curly braces, or these things that I'm going to hold up on a sign? There we go. I'm going to get a whiteboard. It's going to be as cool as Paul. It's going to be good. I'm just saying.
Perfect. There's a there's somewhere Vex 32 had some fighting with it was referred to as like and the Bracky Boys because it was like it was like all of the options. Fancy brackets. Ooh. Okay, so we're gonna have I think registered to, then expiration date, then license type, then node count. So it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, all separated with parentheses.
Okay.
Or not parentheses, all separated with pipes. So here, I'll put all those in.
Okay,
maybe.
Thank you.
Except mine still wants to do access violation. Oops. Then we'll do 2. Right.
And so at this point, when we're starting to look at this, we're not actually doing much formatting, but if we were doing stuff like regex to pull values out, we'd want to probably store them above. So we're only calculating them once, regardless of.
Yeah.
Well, it's nothing against, it's not like we're counting bits here, but.
Yeah. Like part of it would come down to what we're trying to accomplish. And like with the regex, because we're going to potentially need like a regex object and a few other things. Expiration data.
Absolutely.
And
the one. So I know this is perfectly well documented, but
well, so I have an issue, and I had some work that I had put into it that I haven't put up yet. That basically outputs a header row on everything. So when you ask for limit output, it would output name, pipe, license type, pipe, expiration date, pipe, node count. So that you can just
do that sort of
in
thing.
PowerShell, just pipe it in to convert from CSV.
Yeah. And I think that, even if we updated one of the helper modules to be able to do that and then have some nice XML decoration stuff, then I think it would be super nice to just be able to have a, I mean, obviously there's a Chocolatey module under Chocolatey, I think it is.
But the trick is, and the reason I wanted to do it in here is because each command has a different headers. So you have to know what command is being passed in. Still not here. Yeah. So actually now if we hit F5
project is next week.
Yeah. Now if we just hit F5 and go, we can actually take the breakpoint out of line 90, or we'll leave it in. We'll see what it does.
Still there. So I'm going to continue. I guess we'll step through. Oh no, we continued.
So now if we go back to there, so we see Hacktoberfest, business trial, the date, and
although having said that, we have gone and outputted some stuff there.
Yes, and that was that part is kind of expected because that was the first stuff we put in. So what we'll want to do is we can actually take all of that out from the opening, like until we get to our license part.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do while you do that is I'm going to take out this constructor and the file system because we didn't actually end up using that
at all. Very good.
And then, and we can take all that out. So now if we want to hit or run it one more time.
Yep, just to make sure.
Now there are more things that we ideally will need to add. There's some unit tests that we'll want to put in, as well as likely some pester tests for end-to-end testing that will test like the various iterations of it and whatnot. But for right now, this is sufficient. So that came out okay. Now if you hit OK or enter or whatever, and then go debug and back to the debug properties.
And just pop that off.
Yeah. And while you're doing that, I'm going to log into, I'm going to go see if I can find that. Yeah. So we're probably, that first line of we have found a valid license probably will come off, but we can do that at a later date because being conscious of the time, I think we want to put this into Git and open up a pull request now, don't we?
That sounds, sensible. So assuming we had got all of the stuff we wanted to do, or we wanted to share our work and say, look, guys, does this look okay? Here's a draft.
Exactly. As you said, we made it to a point where we want to share the work with others. So hit OK or hit enter here. And so what we're going to want to do is we need to commit it into Git. And one of the things is, so now if you go back to the root, now do Git status, you'll see that we have, I love the defaults.
I was just thinking I should have updated this. Quick color. No, there's, I did actually try installing terminal, but of course, as this is server.
Yeah. In any case, so this shows us that there is a new file. Actually, the first one is that there are changes that we haven't staged yet. That's in the chocolatey.cs proj file. And then there's an untracked file that we haven't changed, that we are not tracking at all. Yeah. Book it with regex things. So the now if we do if you do git space diff, it'll show the differences between what was committed, what was originally there and what we have changed.
Yeah,
and it's only showing this one file because it's only tracking this one file. And in this case, we told it that, hey, you need to include this file.
Right.
So now if we do git space add space. You can either be specific about the files, or you can just hit period, which will tell it to use the local directory and anything under the local directory that is not explicit, that's not already being ignored.
Right.
And
so if I
anything that
had
has
gone and
changed.
created some random other files, or I'd done some test
Yeah.
stuff and I didn't want to include that in this commit, and obviously you can also get deeper into that and start including just chunks of or hunks even of random files, but we're not going to do that. We're perfect.
Yeah.
We've done everything. I'm gonna add everything we've got there. That's perfect. Yeah, done.
Yeah.
We're
And
good.
now if you do a git status, you'll see that it tells us that those two files have changed. I'm realizing there might be a formatting thing, but we can fix it afterwards because we probably didn't go through the committers. There is a file on the repository for git committers, I believe it's called. And there are some recommended git configurations in there that I just realized we didn't do.
Okay. Well, should we run through them quickly, or do we want to?
I'm going to suggest not, because the main thing is that they're things you want to set up before you really do any of the work. Like
Right
they're
on.
setting up making sure line endings are pulled down properly. There's no symlinks that and whatnot, but what I'll do is I'll grab a link and include it's the contributing file right there. Basically just that it outlines some of the details. So we've added this. What we'll want to do now, okay. And then in here, actually, if you scroll down a little bit, it's not, is it? It's a little bit
It's a
further.
very old profile picture of Rob there.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's actually, there's Gary.
Hey, Gary. We're just about to ship it. You'll be pleased to hear.
Yeah.
Gary was just connecting to audio, so he didn't hear my cunning joke.
James is just about to push up the pull request or push up to his Git, and then he's going to create the pull request. I'm going to go in and merge it, and everything will be good.
Why not?
We've already submitted it to.
So if you want to go back to your terminal,
yeah,
we've done the git add, and so now we need to do the git commit. And I'm thinking for this stream, it's probably easier for us to just give it a message of add license command.
Sure. We do have some guidelines around messages. If we can remember what number that was.
Yeah, 2829. Yeah. So yes, as James said, we do have the contributing guidelines that I put in chat there a minute ago. But for this stream, I think I'm okay. I'm safe to say we'll put it in and fix it in post, as they say in the movie industry.
Absolutely.
Because before we actually merge the pull request, we will require that the commit messages are corrected.
If the stream had a post-credits scene, then it would just be us feverishly updating things in this, and then Samuel L. Jackson would pop in. That would be it.
So I mean, you could even just do the commit like that if you want, or just put add license command.
I mean, I'd like to show that I have even an edge of being able to write a good commit message.
My thing is, on the terminal, when you're putting in new lines, is not gonna be the funnest.
That's fair.
Could do whip.
It's basic chocolatey. Sorry, Choco license command, and then I guess if we want new lines, we're going to be in all sorts of fun. It's 2 new lines, is that right?
Technically, it's 2 new lines.
Adds the basics.
It would be 2 there, yeah.
Chocolatey license command. to address the requirement. Except now Gary's going to point out that I've gone way over 80 characters.
I was going to say,
was
it's 72
waiting to
characters.
go there, yes. So there are some rules around.
Maybe it's
length of
easier not
message
to do
line,
this now.
etc. I would suggest it with Cory, would just be the way to go. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is like I drop it into VS Code, and then I have rulers in VS Code that tell me how long things are. You can also use Git extensions where you can set up, and it will automatically when you get to the certain points, it will automatically take you down to the next line.
That's
and
the
whatnot.
correct answer. Yes.
Well, the VS Code has a way that does that too, but it's only works for markdown files. So now if you hit enter on the commit, that will commit it to your local repository, and now you want to push it up to GitHub. So we'll do that with git push. And then if you just hit enter, it'll tell you exactly what command you want to run. And you can just copy it off the screen, copy and paste it.
Fair enough. Let's do it.
I have taught you well, Cory, because that's the exact same way I do it.
So now there's two things you can do. You can either copy that link off the screen.
Oh, yep.
And paste it in, or you can go to the code tab on GitHub.
I was just gonna have a quick go over here.
I've never done it from this one. I always did it from the Choco side. But
Either
way,
from both sides. So yeah, you
Yeah.
can create the pull request from both sides. I tend to do it from the upstream repository. Yes.
So now if you hit compare and pull request, yeah, that's actually, and so now you would fill out all of
You can bring in a request for Kim to review this. So yeah, as we've said, we've got a bunch of delightful templates and contributing guidelines. If I was a fresh new contributor, there would also be a prompt to sign the CLA, I believe.
Once pull request is created, it will the contributor license agreement.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So we're obviously going to remove all comments before submitting, as it suggests. We have read this stuff before, and we could even talk through what it is. But we're going to fill out the stuff we've got here. So this, I should probably just not fill any of this out, I'm sure. But
well, it'll have to be filled out eventually, but
that's true. Oh, and of course, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this a draft PR.
Yeah.
Which will be here.
That would be a good one. What else did we? Yeah. While you're doing that, just to go over like what we talked about earlier, what we're currently missing from the pull request, and partly what makes it a draft right now is that we haven't added in any of the unit tests that we would like to add, nor do we have any end-to-end pester tests that we'll add in, as well as we haven't even fully finished it because there's right now the node count just says count goes here because that got into regex and a little bit more complicated. Figured we can do that. Another thing that we can fix in post. But actually, on that note, specific to what you were saying earlier about the node count, is that we can extract the node count before the and store it in a variable earlier on, as you said, because in the if block, we're either going to output it as a node count colon, and here's the node count, or we're going to output it on the limit output line, in which case we don't want to have to do a regex twice, because that's 3 times more than you should be running a regex.
Yeah, see, I
mean, there's no harm in leaving the fixes in, because ultimately that would close the issue once the PR gets merged as well.
Yeah.
That's fair. I didn't want to do that while it was such a lie, in that we've just implemented read, and there are many parts to this request that we haven't yet done.
The other keyword is relates to. I think it will do the association, but it wouldn't close the issue when the PR got merged.
Okay,
but it would do the association.
But we can probably, I think you're right. Like this PR when merged should fix
correct.
that.
But the fact that it's draft at the minute would still indicate that it's not fixing things yet, but putting the fixes in just kind of future proofs it.
Okay, so I think that looks okay. Yeah, and of course you can look at any of the closing keywords down here. But
yes,
we're trusting in our GitHub star with his light up GitHub star.
Yeah, and definitely like you'll be able to go as we'll be able to go back after and edit in as like, because right now we have tested it locally, we haven't done anything else, but after, when we're ready to mark it as ready, we'll be able to flesh out more of the PR.
Yeah.
So one important thing before you hit that big green button, in terms of submitting the PR, go and scroll down just a smidge. The default there is for allow edits and access to secrets by maintainers. That's an important one to leave on, although the secrets is a new addition. That word.
I was going to say edits. I'm used to.
My understanding of that one was essentially once you create the PR, if I, as a maintainer of the project, wanted to make an edit to it or a suggestion, then I would be able to make additional commits onto your PR branch. The addition of the word secrets, that one's a new one to me, but I would encourage you to leave that checkbox checked when it is checked by default. If you if you uncheck that box, it means that we as the maintainers couldn't then offer up suggestions or changes into your PR branch.
Well, we could offer suggestions for sure, but we wouldn't be able, for example, I know one thing I've used before is, we wouldn't be able to, for example, if there was a modification made to one of the PowerShell scripts that we ship signed, we wouldn't be able to re-sign that within the PR. We'd have to make a separate PR or a separate branch to do that with.
Correct. So ideally it's left on, unless there's good reason to turn it off.
Yes. Very good. So all good. Looks good.
Click the green button.
I'll just merge it immediately. We've got 3 people here. It's fine. We've all said it's good.
Well, I haven't seen the code, so I'm not saying anything.
No, you don't. Never mind, Gary. It's fine. It's fine. We're going to be okay.
I'm sure it's great. Yes. So have you folks had fun doing this?
I think so.
Good.
It was.
I hope I didn't ask too many annoying questions.
Well, we also started off with when the command didn't register right away, it started down the path of the last time I added a command where we had to go into container binding and stuff. And I was but I don't think we have to do that anymore. And it took after a few minutes, we did figure out that, oh no, it's because we hadn't decorated the class with command 4.
Yes. Yes. Because it uses that attribute to so basically it digs into the DLL at the point of registering into the IOC container, and it looks for classes that are specifically attributed with that attribute, and then it collects them all together and does a mass registration of them. So if they're not there, if it's not there, then it wouldn't be added in. So it wouldn't,
it's just some random class that
exactly.
And then we put in we threw a file system in there because we're like, well, we need to check if the file's there, and then realize that we can just license validation.validate, and it does all that and gives us a license object back.
Gotcha.
I was expecting to have to do a lot more work there.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like you've had fun then.
Okay.
So we're wrapping up then. We're closing out. I think the only thing to say is the next one of these sessions, I think that we are aiming to do one every Tuesday in October. So it will be next week, which will be the 11th. And I think it's me, but I'm not sure. I can't remember if I signed up to the next one or not. And I honestly don't know what I'm going to be working on yet. So that'll be fun. So feel free to join in, and we can pick something. I don't know. I'll think of something before next week. But no, I hope it's
so many
fun.
cool new
you
ideas.
Can review the pull request and merge it for us.
Stevie's got ideas. Okay, I stepped mine back. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear you. Is my earphones gone, or were? Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
I love
Oh,
how
no, it is.
James is just
What's happening here?
silently pointing it.
what's going on? That's
I'm going to assume that everyone else can hear me.
I can hear you now, but that was
Okay.
very
Oh.
strange. My earphone disconnected from Zoom somehow.
Oh.
Anyway, yes. So I think that will be it for today then. So thank you very much. I hope everyone who's on the stream has enjoyed James and Cory's company for the last couple of hours. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Oh, we do have a stream on Thursday as well, which
About
is
CCM.
that is me. I think that one is definitely me. I'm going to be doing a stream on our latest Chocolatey Central Management release, which was 0.10.0, and going through all the features and improvements and bug fixes that went into those. So I will be joined on the stream by Steph, who did loads of work on the front end in terms. Oh, I better not spoil it. Come along on Thursday to find out all about it from Steph directly, and yeah, it'll be great fun. So join us then. Go to the website. There's an event section. You can find all the information there. So okay, Cory, I think you're the host, so I'll leave it to you to post things out. But yeah,
So
thank you very much.
Have great days, everybody.